Welcome to Tone Bros. My name's Casey. So, I'm back here with part 2 of this vlog I've been doing on this J-45. Last week, we took out the under-saddle pickups. We took out all the electronics in here. We put in a new bone bridge and tested it before and after. Also plugged up the hole with one of these end pins. So, for the back end, so that's taken care of. Our next step now this week, another thing we were thinking about. Of course, a lot of people talk about the nuts. This is one of the Acousitc nuts that came on this model whenever it came out. So I'm kind of hesitant to replace this nut. A, because the tuning stability for this guitar has been great with this Acousitc nut. It's supposed to be kind of self-lubricating. The nut slots are cut really well. And yes, we get in the weeds here sometimes, but in theory, the nut should only be in play whenever I'm playing an open string, and it should not make as big of a difference whenever I'm fretting a note. So I'm kind of waiting to change the nut until I really need to for some reason. The thing we are going to concentrate on this week, and it sounds kind of wild that it might change the sound of it, but I've heard from multiple players they're supposed to. It's these machine heads. I want to change out these machine heads from Grover's to more of a Kluson, 3 on the side, 3 on a plate. It also will make it look more traditional. Part of it's for looks, and then part of it also is they're lighter. I won't have as much neck dive. It'll make the whole guitar lighter, and in some people's minds, it will help the tone of it, or at least change the tone of it. So these heavy Grovers sometimes, you would think at least, would maybe draw some of the vibrations. I don't know. I don't know for sure what the reasoning is behind why they should make it sound different, but we are going to find out this week if there is a sound difference. So I'm going to play some clips now. We'll keep the same strings on. I'll take these off, and we will go on with some 3 on a plate Kluson Style machine heads on this. But let's get playing some of this before and after, and then see what you guys think. All right, well, let's get changing these things. Okay, guys, so we're here at the little workbench. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull all these strings off, and we'll kind of get this started off right, okay? So let's start with that. Okay guys, so we've got those off there. Next thing I want to do is I want to pull this truss rod cover off. So that's off. Next thing I want to do is I want to pull these, what we have to do is we have to unscrew these little bolts here and get those things off there, or these little nuts. All right, so those guys will just pull right off. So then the next thing we need to do here is we need to unscrew these little screws here. All right, so we've got those off. We'll flip this guy back over. All right, so one of the first things you guys will notice on that is headstock has got some like little indentions, kind of what they call raccoon eyes, right there on that headstock around here. And new machine heads we're going with are going to be these Kluson 3 in a line. The problem that comes with these is they come with these grommets that will go in, and they are a press fit, which means they don't screw in and bolt in the same way that these do, these old Grovers. These actually have, they have a bushing that goes in to the guitar that is held by friction, and then this bottom one, these bottom machine heads come up, or these machine heads come up through the bottom, and then they are screwed on there. So, as you can see, I've had to, well, maybe you can't see, but the original bushings, if I put them in there, are way too small because the holes have had to be made for these Grovers to go in there, and they've had to be drilled out pretty large for that to fit, which means these original size grommets for those Klusons won't work because they'll just kind of swim around in there. If I can get that back out, if I happen to flip it over, there we go. So the grommet you saw just a few seconds ago is the grommet that I purchased for this, and I don't know if you can see that, but it is just like slightly sticking out, and I don't want to force that in there, because if I force it in there, what's going to happen is I could possibly crack the edge of this headstock. So I'm going to want to ream this out slightly larger. And then the other thing that this brings up is you can see that raccoon eye around the edge of this, and even though this is a workhorse guitar meant to be worked with, I kind of don't like the look of that a ton. So I'm going to actually try to get rid of some of these raccoon eyes. So we're going to do that with a little bit of sandpaper and then rebuff out this headstock. So let me get this out of here, clean up a few things, and then we'll get started on actually cleaning these raccoon eyes up first. You can see these raccoon eyes are not very deep. It's just kind of from the indentions of those washers around the edge of those like screw-in grommets. So what I'm going to do is I've got some, you can't see this, but it's 400 grit, because it's just not written on there, but I've got 400 grit sandpaper. I've got it wet, so I can wet sand. And I'm going to work in circles around these eye holes to just try to clean some of that stuff up. Just lightly, nothing too wild. As you can see, those little holes are kind of getting out of there a little bit. You can still see them a little bit, little indentions. We'll kind of keep working them a little bit more. So you can see it's also making, obviously, sandpaper marks around that. We're going to fix that here in a second. Okay, those things are pretty dang good at this point. I don't know if they're showing up well on camera or not, but you can still see them a little bit, but nothing like they were. But it's ugly now because it's all scratched up. So now what we're going to do is we're going to scratch it up some more. So we're going to take that wet sandpaper. I'm going to go along, create scratches all the way across here. Lightly over the headstock there. Just kind of evenly scratch it up. Alright, so now we've got pretty evenly scratched up there. So what I want to do is get some more sandpaper, but this time I'm going to go to 1000 grit. With this 1000 grit, I'm going to go the opposite way that I just went. We're going to go this way. Just ever so lightly. There we go. I want to take 2000 grit and go over it again. Once again, very lightly. And this time I'm gonna go both directions. Okay. So pretty scratched up pretty evenly at this point, right? So now it's time to fix those scratches. So now what I've got here is some of this fine scratch and blemish remover. It's actually made for cars is what it's for, but we're gonna put some on here. I'm just gonna work that in with my finger a little bit first. Now, clean up a little bit of this excess. Now what I'm gonna do is you can buff it out probably by hand if you wanted to. I've got this little buffing pad. It goes onto a drill, and we're gonna use that to get this buffed out. We'll go on a high speed. We'll get this thing buffed out and back to shape. All right. You can see that's already looking much, much better already. I'm gonna put a little bit more on there yet. I had to move the little camera stand because I was bumping it. Okay guys, so I've got all that together now. And I've got that as shiny and like correct as I want it to be. If you want to like a brand new finish, you just keep polishing that up and those fine scratches and stuff will finish coming out the rest of the way. This thing already had some scratches and stuff in it. I don't want this thing to look perfect because if it looked perfect, it wouldn't match the rest of the guitar. Because at this point, this guitar is, I guess, getting close to 15 years old at this point. So it's nearing that age and it's been played and worked. So I kind of wanted to leave some of those imperfections in there a little bit. So comes down to our next problem. We talked about earlier is these bushings that don't quite fit. So as you can see in there, they're out a little bit. I don't want to force those in there. If I force those in there, you got the chances of possibly breaking a headstock, and that's the last thing I want to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ream those out. Nothing too fancy, just a handheld reamer. You put in here and you ream out the hole slightly larger so you can fit this bushing in there is all it is. So there's not much to it. You just check it frequently. So we're going to start with that guy there. Okay guys, so I've got those on now. The only thing that I have left to do now is so this bottom hole is going to match up. So I'm going to go ahead and get that screw in now. All right, all I have left to do with these now is to get these holes drilled so I can put the screws in there. So let me do that real quick. I'll have to move the camera, that way I can get those drilled. I'll be right back with you guys. That's done, and I think, in my opinion, that's what the back of a J-45's headstock should really look like. So I'm going to turn this thing over. I'm going to go ahead and get it restrung. Hey guys, I'm back here with you. So, after all that, we finally got it done. I saved you the trouble of watching me restring this thing. But I guess I should have a little better close-up shot. But that's how it turned out. I think it turned out really well. I think the back of a J-45 to me just should look like that. One thing about it, aesthetically anyway, that kind of is bothering me is, yeah, I know the logo is technically not supposed to, it's supposed to be like, you know, like a gold kind of color for vintage style J-45. That doesn't bother me so much because it's my standard workhorse today. It's not necessarily meant to be a recreation of something old. If I wanted that, I'd go get one of those Banner Murphy Labs or something like that. But it's the truss rod cover, that the white around the edge of that truss rod cover. For some reason, I think a one-ply truss rod cover would really just set it off. First thing I can tell, I haven't even strummed it yet. I just tuned it. Boy, that really took a ton of the weight off the guitar in general, but especially it didn't really have much of a neck dive, but I mean, you can see it's got a little bit of one, I guess, if you let go of it, but before it was much more. The headstock is much lighter feeling. So let's play some stuff. I wrote down what it was I played before, so hopefully I can remember exactly how it went, and we'll go from there. So let's do that. Also, as a side note, right before we get started, I really love how these Klusons feel. Like just tuning up and stuff, they're really smooth. Not that the Grovers weren't smooth, but something about the action of them that just feels right. So yeah, for what it's worth. All right, let's do this. Well, let me tell you something. I like the looks of it. I like the looks of it, but I also really love, it sounds crazy, but the sound of it. Yeah, there's something about the sound of it. It is definitely different. I I never would have thought I would be saying, yeah, the machine heads make a difference in the sound, but boy, do they. Yeah, I just want to keep playing this thing, so I'm going to turn this camera off and just play this thing some more. But tell me what you guys think down below. Maybe it doesn't translate. Like I said, I'm just using this SM57. Got it mic'd up here at the 12th fret on this J-45 standard from like 2012. But I'd love to hear what you guys think down below. Have you guys swapped your machine heads before? Changed them? I think it turned out pretty well. Be curious to see what you guys think. I certainly am enjoying the sound. So I'm going to keep playing. I'll see you guys next week.